Do you hate getting into time scrambles when you're playing chess games? Well, so do I, which is why I'm going to be showing you 5 different patterns that I believe you should memorize that actually stem from 5 of our recent Force Drive chess tournament games. I'm going to be showing you 5 different tournament clips and my live reaction to what happened in each sequence, as well as a breakdown immediately after the clip showing you exactly how you need to approach certain spots like this. Every single chess player should honestly know every single one of these patterns, and you're going to want to stick around for this one. So go ahead and sit back, relax, and let's get right into that first chess tournament clip.
I am beside myself that we have the wrong time control right now. Rook check is granted. 16 seconds now on comes clock. King slides over. There is no breathing room now for the king. Mate with 3 seconds on his clock. 2, 1. Check is granted. Suckering the rook. 1 second. King slides down. Check is given.
Number 1, diagonal simplification. As you just saw from that chess tournament clip, this position got extremely wonky extremely fast. A rook would be sacrificed here. One player would get down to 0.3 seconds on their clock. The player with the black pieces barely getting a move off here, 0.5 seconds. In our tournaments, you get 2 seconds of bonus time every time you make a move. And eventually the game would end via repetition with the checks. So, how do you get out of this position, play extremely fast, and simplify the position? One thing you need to always ask yourself is, when the king is always exposed, are there checks where I can attack the king and also attack another piece? So if you go here, which is what was played in the game, there are not any checks that can attack other pieces. However, if you go here to the g3 square, you will be checking the king and the rook coming down here. Now, a lot of beginners always struggle with tactics that go behind the piece. So in this case, the tactic would be going all the way down here to the c7 square, whereas you're checking the king up here on the e1 square. And it is incredibly important that you ingrain it into your brain that when you are in those very, 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 very tricky positions, that you are finding ways to dumb down the position, blitzing out moves, taking pieces off the board, and simplifying it as much as possible. Keep in mind too, when the queen does take here as well, the queen cannot go here. Also, the knight will also capture it. And eventually you're gonna be able to get your rook into the game, perhaps maybe your queen into the game over here to checkmate the king. And eventually, obviously, hopefully, you'll be able to get the queen off the board as well. So note to self, whenever you are ahead in material, winning in the position, low on time, look for checks when the king is exposed to attack the king and attack the rook. This will help you win a lot more chess games when you are in those extremely high situations. So let's go ahead and get into our second pattern recognition. The king now takes, and now there is nothing between this pawn and complete and utter promotion to the most powerful piece on the board, unless he promotes to a rook. No, he goes for a queen. Pawns continue to push. There will be a quick exchange as now the queen comes in here. King will slide all the way back here. And ladies and gentlemen, we are moments away from Brutus finally getting the better of Supra in this tournament. After a few more moves, it will be checkmate here in a matter of seconds.
Oh, but it is a draw. Oh, 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 no. Oh my God. Oh my God, it is a draw. Supra, the tricky sequence.
Number 2, queen lateral checkmate. As you just saw from that chess tournament clip, white is completely winning in this spot. Literally just pushing the pieces forward, queen's on the board, and in this spot you are always trying to simplify the position, right? White does a really good job of this. He doesn't necessarily have to do that. If he probably knows his mechanics, he should be able to just checkmate with the queen and the king and the game will be over, but we won't talk about that. We're treating this like it's a low time scramble. I know he also has a lot of time, but bear with me. So queen check comes in here. We now see the pawn push here, and there are 2 queens on the board. And you're thinking, oh, this is like an easy lateral checkmate, right? Game continued like this, and this is a draw. And the reason being this is a draw is because the king has literally no oxygen, period. There's no squares the king can go to, and when the king cannot move, it is a forced draw, right? So when you are in fact in a time scramble like this, like let's say Brutus had roughly, let's say he had like 5 seconds on his clock with no bonus time. Our tournaments, you get 2 seconds of bonus time, by the way. If he stopped and paused here just to take a quick think, the draw right here does not happen. Brutus is a very solid player, and he would have spotted this right here. And when you're up on time, it's important that you take a step back and just approach it from a logical standpoint. And when you are in those low time scrambles, you need to make sure you note when you are doing the queen lateral checkmate that this move right here is possible. Most times you're going to be pre-moving, and honestly, like if you went this way, the engine's not gonna like this. But let's say you go here, here, check, here, oops, and then here. This is checkmate. This would be your lateral checkmate right here. And the reason being is because the king can't get to a square where it can't be attacked. And in this case in particular, no checks were being given as well. So when you do have queens on the board, note to self, make sure you are always creating checks so you don't run into those annoying draw-ish situations. Like all these moves right here, like every single one, there was no check. And Super was very easily able to navigate his king into a spot where Brutus would cause a draw because he noticed that he was pre-moving and playing a little too fast. So note to self, when you are in these spots like this, make sure you are trying to get checks on the board. A default lateral checkmate will usually result in a draw because your opponent, 9 times out of 10, if you're above roughly 800 elo, is going to be able to spot this and be like, oh, he's pre-moving. I'm going to try and get my king up here and try and get him into a draw. This can happen. So note to self, and make sure you don't get into those spots like that. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our third one.
King now slides forward. Check is granted again by Mongo. Check is given. Do you take here? I think you can take. Mongo needs to take. If you take the rook, you have to take the rook here.
Number 3, endgame pawn structures. So as you just saw from that chess tournament game, these two players were under intense pressure as they were both below 20 seconds on their clock. Now, they do get 2 seconds of bonus time every single time they do make a move, which is the format we have for our full stride chess tournaments. And by the way, link in the description if you want to join our next one and claim your spot. But as you can probably tell, black is up a pawn right now and has a +4 advantage on the eval bar. But how exactly do you translate this position in a low time scramble? The game continues like this. The white king slides down, black comes in here with check with the rook, white king comes up here. This is a fatal mistake by white because this was actually played in the game. Black comes in here with check. And if the king goes here or here, the rook can now take this piece. So let's run through it real quick. After takes. And if you don't take the rook, you're obviously going to lose because it's a rook. You can now push this pawn forward. And you're going to see all my arrows. Ignore that. I was analyzing the game with somebody earlier. And now the white king cannot escape because this pawn's covering this square and this pawn is covering this square. And anytime the white king will go behind your pawn, there's no catching this pawn. This pawn is literally just going to push all the way down the board and you are going to promote to a queen and literally win this game on the spot, right? So let's say instead of sliding up here, white pushes a pawn. Black can now just push a pawn. White goes here, black goes here, and white has 2 moves here. You can go here, blunder a pawn, or you can go here and the exact same thing will happen. Right? So when you get in these tricky endgames with rooks, pawns, whatever it may be, the tricky situations, try your absolute best to make sure you are focused and honing in on what exactly your opportunity to advance and win the game actually is. Easier said than done. It takes a lot of skill and practice, but in most cases when you are up a pawn, chances are you're also up on the eval bar. Now there are still instances where you could be up a pawn and it's still a drawn position, but in wonky positions like this where there's like 3 pawns on one side of the board to 1 pawn against 2, if you are up a pawn, chances are you are winning. So keep that in mind when you go into your next pawn endgame structure, and comment and tell me down below if you want me to do some more videos about pawn endgames and how you can better formulate plots to win in those high pressure situations. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our 4th one. Quite the exquisite touch, I must say. King continues to slide. Rook is coming over. What is this tactical maneuvering here with the rook, by the way? King is going to slide over here. Rook comes over. Is he trying to put it in a box? I don't think... if Bruce knows how to checkmate with a knight and a bishop, and not with a rook and a king, I am going to be completely and utterly beside myself. Number 4, rook and king checkmate. So in this position, as you saw from the full stride chess tournament clip that I just showed you, it is a white king and a white rook against a black king. There's nothing on the board for black, and this should be a very easy win if you know how to calibrate it. So how exactly do you do that? So in this position, at the start of the video, the black king just slid over here, and the game continued like this. Kings were shuffling, and this isn't necessary. So when you have just a king and a rook, and I believe it was actually, yeah, this is the position right here. Sliding the rook forward, it says it's a miss, but bear with me. Let's say the king slides over here, and your rook is under attack. It is covered by the king, But if you slide your rook let's say you slide your rook all the way down here, anytime your kings are facing each other, and essentially you're basically creating a line with your rook and forcing the king back one square at a time until it is all the way back here. And to do that, the enemy king and your king have to be glaring at each other directly across from each other so that the black king cannot escape. And anytime it's this situation in particular right here, they're glaring at each other, and anytime this happens, you bring your rook over here, king is forced to come down here, and you literally just continue to navigate. So let's say the black king comes down here, and let's say you brought your rook. So if you brought your king down here too, kind of just like following it, that low-key kind of slows you down. If your kings were facing each other on this square right here, note to self, make sure that you don't actually move your king. You don't have to. You need to move your rook. Whereas if the king comes back here, you bring the rook over here now, and the king is forced to move over, and the line gets smaller. So notice how I got one square, or one file smaller, I should say. So previously we had the king right here. A faster maneuvering would be to move the king right here, right? When that happens, let's say the king slides up here. Now, when your kings aren't facing each other, it's like the king is not here. You guys are not facing each other. Now you can follow with your king. If the king comes back here, you come back down here with the rook. King slides down. Remember, you don't want to go here and face the king because it's going to be a little bit of a longer sequence. Bring the king over here. Say the king comes down here, you follow with the king. And when the king comes down here to attack your rook, you literally just move the rook all the way down the board. King comes up here. Remember, you don't want to come down here because then you would be facing the king. You actually want to move your rook down again. If the king goes here, the line's going to get smaller. If the king comes down here, you literally just continue to follow it. And then, once again, when the kings are facing each other, rook comes over here, line gets even smaller. Now the king only has 2 files that he can grace. And if this happens, you bring the king over here. King slides up, you continue to follow it, comes all the way down here, rook comes down, king comes down. Do not move up here to face the king, because when you do that, the king's going to have an extra set of moves. We're trying to win this game as quickly as possible. Move the rook down here. And also important note as well, I'm not moving my rook all the way down here because the king will have to go through the sequence right here in order to get access to my rook. And when he does go here, I go here and the line gets even smaller, right? So king comes back here, you literally just follow it right like so. Now the king comes down here, rook check. Once again, king cannot escape. The king is covering these squares. King slides back. You bring your king over, and now this is going to be done said match. If the king goes here, it will be checkmate on the next move, and this is the only way you could really checkmate with a rook. I believe there's another way, but actually, no, I don't think there's another way. This is the most fast way to memorize the scramble. King comes here, checkmate. King goes here. You bring the king up here. And this prevents the king from escaping. King comes down here, checkmate is given, and you win the game in a very big time scramble. So, that is number 4. And be sure to leave a comment and tell me what you thought of this one. So, let's go ahead and get into our 5th pattern of the day.
A very well-timed move here. Another check is given. King slides over. You with 13 seconds on his clock. He is literally going to have to be perfect here as the rook now slides over here. How does Super convert this position?
Number 5, Rook Coordination. From that chess tournament clip that you just saw, these two players were absolutely scrambling. Black has an advantage right now, but they also have 35 seconds on their clock compared to White's 13.9. White is completely and utterly losing in this spot, mainly for the fact that now a pawn has been blundered, and there's just a lot of stuff that can quickly get out of hand in this position for White, as they're also down 2 pawns and 6.6 on the eval bar, right? When I'm in these tricky spots and I'm trying to win fast, I'm trying to scramble and play as fast as I possibly can. By the way, these players do get 2 seconds of bonus time as well, similar to the previous one, and all 4-star chess tournament games, I guess. But I always try and coordinate my rooks like this, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. In this case, it is the best move, and what that does is, now you're attacking this pawn right here, and whenever you have 2 rooks side by side coordinated and together, they are so incredibly powerful. They're actually even better than a queen. Fun fact, 2 rooks is worth 10 points, 5 each, and the queen is worth 9 points. 2 rooks coordinated is in most cases better than a queen. Now the queen's a lot harder to think about, but the rooks are extremely powerful as well, right? So when you have these rooks coordinated like this, you have opportunities to win this pawn. White can never slide the rook back here. And also if black were to slide all the way back here, white would just be able to block in this spot, which is what I believe I said on the stream for that one in that clip you just saw, but I don't know. So black rook goes here, king slides over here, and this would actually be checkmate in a couple of moves if the white king went here, because after you go check, where's the white king gonna go? Oh wait, you can only block with the rook. Checkmate. Completely blocked, and white would lose. And with this move right here, with this not being possible, black's just gonna get a pawn. And when your rooks are coordinated like this, all you have to do is continue to simplify the position and try to make it as uncomplicated as possible so you can move quickly and really continue to put pressure on your opponent so that they run lower on time and eventually make a blunder, mistake, whatever it may be, so that you can win the game. That is tip number 5. Ensure your rooks are always coordinated, similar to this. Did you find these 5 tips helpful? Go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And also be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more fun chess content. I hope you all have a great rest of your day or night, and I will see you guys in the next video.